There is a kind of scream that makes no sound, a silent howl that tears through a man's soul and leaves him a shadow of himself. That was Nash Kavanagh the day he lost everything. The physical destruction had already happened. The crash, the fall, and the water. But it was the silence that followed that truly shattered him. Once, Nash had been one of the best and elite ex-special forces, operative who had done things most men only saw in nightmares. But what the world never knew was that after surviving battlefields and betrayals, it was love that finally brought him to his knees. The tragedy was classified and buried, the official narrative sealed tight. But the truth simmered quietly in the background of Emmanuel Ashburn's operations. Ashburn knew Nash's story, the whole bloody, broken-hearted truth. Nash had disappeared after the fall, after the day the river took what little he had left of a life worth living. It began in a place meant for healing, a place called the Program, sold to the world as a sanctuary for disillusioned soldiers. It promised peace and a second chance. And for a while, it delivered. Nash found something, someone. Her name was Evoli, intelligent, composed, and quietly defiant. She too had come to the Program looking for solace. What they found instead was each other. At the helm of the Program was Leon Prodemy, known to his followers as the Bokushi, charismatic and broken in the way that made men believe he understood their pain. He offered not just peace, but purpose. He called them brothers, called their trauma sacred. He was their priest and their general, and he understood how to use their longing for meaning as chains. Nash and Evoli were drawn together not just by shared experience, but by a fierce desire to build something better. They dreamed of freedom beyond the Program's gates. That dream became more urgent when Evoli found out she was pregnant. The Bokushi believed that children born within the Program were destined to become its legacy. He forbade outsiders from interfering. Those children were to be raised within, molded into the next generation of believers. Evoli disagreed, quietly at first, then with fire. Together, she and Nash plotted their escape while pretending to comply. They knew it would be dangerous, but they had no choice. They refused to let their child be born into a cage. They slipped away one night, the darkness offering cover as they made their way through winding roads. They drove from night till dawn and were far from the Program's base. They could see freedom within their reach, as no chase was in sight, but just then, a car collided with them from behind, and they rammed into an incoming car from the other lane. The vehicle hurtled off the cliff, tumbling into a river swollen with rage. The crash was instant, the water merciless. Nash fought to reach Evoli, to keep her above the surface, but the current was relentless. One moment she was in his arms, her eyes wide with terror, and the next she was gone, swallowed by the river's black embrace. Nash washed ashore days later, half dead and wholly broken. The world presumed him dead. He did not argue. Then came Emmanuel Ashburn, cold-eyed, calculated, and relentless. Ashburn had been funding the Program for years. He found Nash not to just recruit him, but to resurrect him. He offered the one thing Nash had stopped hoping for: truth. She might still be alive, Ashburn said. Nash didn't believe him, couldn't. But Ashburn had proof: fuzzy photographs, intercepted messages, signals that pointed to someone inside the Program who matched Evoli's description, and just like that, the coffin Nash had buried his past and cracked open. He agreed to join the mission. Not for redemption, not for justice, for the chance, however slim, that Evoli lived. Ashburn reconditioned him, paired him with a covert team, placed him at the tip of the spear. Nash didn't care about tactics. His eyes were set on the compound, on the possibility of a family still waiting for him behind those fortified walls. What he didn't know was how far the Bukushi had gone in his descent into madness, how deeply the cult had burrowed into the hearts of broken soldiers, twisting loyalty into worship. What he didn't yet understand was that he wasn't going back to face a man, he was going back to face a god forged from trauma and illusion. Still, in his mind, he saw her clearly, and now war was the only path to recovering all he had lost. The Bukushi wasn't just a leader. He was a legend, built carefully and deliberately. A man who turned failure into a god complex. And, like all dangerous men, he didn't need armies to control, he needed followers who'd die for the cause. He didn't tell anyone his plan. He didn't ask for permission. Nash geared up alone, studied the terrain, and traced the routes through the mountain. He carried only what he needed: weapons, explosives, and the weight of everything he'd lost. If this was where it ended, so be it. But he wasn't leaving without her or without setting fire to Bokushi's lies. The mountain base loomed above him like a sleeping beast, fortified, remote, a psychological fortress wrapped in mythology. Nash infiltrated the outer perimeter, planted explosives at the main entrance, and disappeared into the shadows. Inside, Bukushi had already received word. Surveillance had caught Nash's approach, and instead of retreating or deploying his soldiers, the self-declared prophet made a different call. He ordered his people to gather. He wanted a show. Bukushi descended like a monarch, robe sweeping the floor, face marked with calm arrogance. The crowd parted slightly, and that's when Nash saw her. Her face, she was there, alive, among them. Her eyes locked with his and widened. That was all he needed. That was all it took. Nash dropped his pack. No sniper shots. No ambush. No tricks. Just one-on-one combat like the legend Bukushi craved. The crowd circled. The prophet raised his hands. The duel began. Bukushi fought like a man possessed, each strike calculated, theatrical. But Nash fought like a man with nothing left to lose, like a storm made flesh. His rage was tempered, precise. The training came back. Every bruise, every loss, every scar, it all channeled through him. He brought Bukushi to his knees. The crowd gasped, and the illusion shattered. Nash turned, his wife running to him. The explosives at the entrance detonated, collapsing the only escape route and triggering a chain reaction. The mountain roared. He grabbed her hand, pulled her toward the side cavern he had mapped earlier. The structure crumbled behind them, debris falling like the final judgment. They leaped into the river, together, the same river that had once torn them apart. Now, it saved them, as they surfaced miles downstream, coughing and clinging to the bank. They looked back and watched the mountain fall. The water swallowed it whole, and with it, the last breath of Bukushi.